Bird of Prey 5. El Karuga.
Qapla!
I'm going to take this opportunity, however, to suggest that we all hail Karuga. That's all I'm saying.
Forgive me, Doctor. I'm receiving a number of distress calls. I don't doubt it.
Y'all remember to tip your waitresses. Have a mighty fine night.
If you come in peace, surrender or be destroyed. If you're here to make war, we surrender.
Both good. The important thing is I'm meeting new people.
When the appointed hour arrives, the Marauders will deactivate their cloaking devices and begin transporting Klingon shock troops directly to the landing zone.
Landing zone? Where? Tell me.
Why not? Your feeble weapons will be useless against us. We will kill all your males and take your females to mate with.
All right. Now the Federation's taking over, whether you like it or not. You people, you've been running this planet like a piecework factory. From now on, it's going to be under one roof. You're going to run it like a business. And that means you're going to make a profit.
Look at these 3 words written larger than the rest, with a special pride never written before or since. Tall words proudly saying, "We the people."
Hi, I'm Nicole DeBoer. I played Lieutenant Esri Dax on DS9, and I welcome you to Bird of Prey 5 channel. Hail Karoga.
Hello world, it's Bird of Prey 5, Qapla, and welcome to Enterprise Wednesday for October 11th, 2023. Today we'll be watching Star Trek Enterprise Season 2, Episode 21, The Breach. And this episode originally aired April 23rd, 2003, 20 years ago, thereabouts. And it's the episode where Mayweather and Trip and Travis Mayweather, Trip, and I believe Malcolm go into the caves to go rescue some Denobulans stuck underground on a planet that they're being expelled from. And then they find out on Enterprise that there's an alien who refuses treatment from the Denobulan doctor because it turns out the Denobulans and his people fought a terrible war many centuries ago, and some people still had hostilities. Maybe the Denobulans weren't the fun-loving alien species we come to think they were. Maybe they had some skeletons in their closets. Although, of course, by the end of the episode, we learn that, like with most things of this type, there were very good people on both sides, and perhaps some less than good people on both sides. And it really doesn't matter so much as what happened then as what happens now. And you can't change the past, but you can change the future. So what side are you going to be? 47 Yorktown was first in the chat with one Vok. Welcome, 47. Captain Fandom Nerd says hello, Captain. Richie Poole puts in some alpacas, and rant emojis. Welcome, Richie. Schwario says hello to us all. Hello, Schwario. And also says, Qapla bird. Hope you and the family are doing well today. Thank you, Schwario. Hope you're doing well. And I put in the link to anyone who wants to watch this episode in the screening room. You can watch this episode of Star Trek Enterprise in the screening room at that link if you're watching this live. If it's after the fact, if it's not live, then you'll have to get your own copy of Enterprise, either from a streaming site or preferably on physical media. And also a link to join the panel if anyone is interested. Again, only while we're live, of course. Yvette, the lovely Yvette, says, good evening, Bird and everyone. Good evening, Yvette. Schwario says hello to Yvette and also says, from now on, it's going to be under one roof. Yvette says hello to Schwario. Jim's Landscape LLC, Qapla Jim, says, hail, Bird and chat. Hail, Jim. Daniel's Hot Topic says, Don. Don. Welcome, Daniel. Jim puts in a link to a test intro video. Taylor Swift greater than Disney Star Wars with some sassy Karoga, Mamo Prey, alpaca, and some rant emojis. Daniel says, don't remember this episode either for some reason. My memory is glitchy. No worries, Daniels. Jim's Landscape LLC says, hail the captain, fandom nerd. And Daniel says, wait a tick. Is this the episode where it talks about the beef between the Denobulans and the other people? Yes. Yes, Daniel, that is it. That is this episode. So, and you probably do remember. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Head to the screening room, and we'll get started here in a minute. Again, we'll be watching Season 2, Episode 21, The Breach. Captain Phantom Nerd says to Jim's Landscape, hello. Okay, so going in the screening room, I'm going to count back from 5, and we are going to get started here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have Dr. Phlox feeding his sick bay pets, and Hoshi walks in. It's a tribble. It's called a tribble. They're very difficult to acquire, outlawed on most worlds. It's like, is it dangerous? No, it's a menace. You breed very quickly. Oh no, he just fed it to his space iguana. The abundance of reptiles on their home world keeps their population in check. It's okay too, because Hoshi never, tells anybody about this experience. So it's perfectly within canon that the Denobulans knew about tribbles before humans. Anyway, Hoshi gives them some mail, and you can clear it rubbed. It rubbed Dr. Phlox the wrong way. And now we got the music. My time is finally near. I will see my dreams come alive at last. I will touch the sky. They're not gonna hold me back more. No, they're not gonna change my way. 'Cause I've got faith of the heart. Don't know where my heart will take me. Got faith, with faith to believe I can do anything. I've got strength of the soul. Don't gonna bend or break me. I can break. I can reach any star. I've got faith. I've got faith. Faith is the heart. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. And I paused it for a second so it catches up. There we go. And we got the Enterprise coming out of warp. Caverns go on for 50 kilometers. Flock says they've mapped 50 kilometers. No one knows how far they actually go. The Denobulans have been underground for 6 months. It's called Xantaurus. The government's been unstable for years. A militant faction has taken control, and they're demanding all offloaders, all off, and there's leave. Off-worlders leave. The Denobulans can't get there in time. Somehow, the Enterprise is only a week away. Travis had some caving experience. So Trip and Malcolm are going to go with Travis to try and reach him. And Doctor realizes this was an unusual request, and thanks to Captain. Captain's only too happy to help. Anything for his friends, the Denobulans. Flex cable, 500 meters of flex cable, ratchet packs, waste disposal units. What are they for? They take out everything they bring in. Yeah. It's for pooping in. I just spoke to their Xantaurus general governor. You've got to be out of there in 3 days. It's not much time. The military is going to prepare search patrols to arrest anybody who haven't found in a day and a half, turn around and head back. Well, it would be really great if you had some sort of device that could just beam you up and away from the planet and not have to worry about getting on a transport to leave the planet. Captain is asking, there's an injured passengers on the shuttle. They want to land. They need to land, and they're begging to land. They're being refused permission. Archer's setting a course to the captain of the shuttle. Apparently they connected with Enterprise. So Phlox is dealing with a whole bunch of sick patients. He's dealing with all different types of aliens. And there's another alien that just came in. Phlox looks down at him and he's hesitating. He's putting him, he said, okay, put him in the imaging chamber. Why is Phlox still looking at this guy? He's not doing anything. So now we're on the planet's surface, and we got Malcolm, Trip at the mouth of the cave, and Travis comes over. Fine. We've got 3 humans, one of which not entirely convinced they're going in the right direction, but Travis is convinced this is the nearest entrance, the first entrance, the only entrance he's seen. Travis reminds them to watch their footing. So basically, they only had a 30-foot rock wall that they had to make use and reuse of to make it seem like it was hundreds of feet long, high. And yeah. Oh, and the director for this episode was Duncan McNeill, who, of course, we all know as Tom Paris from Voyager. So Tom Paris directed this episode of Enterprise. This was his second episode of Enterprise he directed. I forget what the other one was, what the first one was. I believe he directed more than this, more than 2. But apparently, when the whole episode was put together, it was 8 minutes short. So they had to send somebody out. And by they, I mean Robert Duncan McNeill had to send somebody out to shoot a few more minutes of episode. And he never got a chance to be there to direct it because it was already past the time he had. I was surprised that could even happen, but apparently it did. So now the person that Phlox put in the imaging chamber is waking up. And he's like, I'd rather die than be treated by him. Archer is very confused, but Phlox isn't. He knows what he did. So saying his 2 species have a complicated history. They've been at war with his species on a few occasions. Archer's like, and there's still bad blood. Very bitter disputes. What if I explained to him that he won't survive without his help? Doesn't matter. You don't realize just how bad the blood is. But you could sedate him and perform the surgery. You can't do that. He has to respect his wishes, even if he wishes to die. You know, it's the cornerstone of Denobulan medical ethics. And he says, don't you believe that if you can help somebody, you should? And he says, no, Hippocrates wasn't Denobulan. Says, well, Hippocrates wasn't Denobulan, but this is an Earth ship, and I'm giving you an order to help him. And Phlox has to say, I'm sorry, Captain, I cannot follow that order. It's not ethical. And then we got Trip and Malcolm going down the cave with the rope, and Malcolm already fucked it up. Travis is there. Are you guys okay? He keeps trying to look down. He can't see the bottom. I mean, the bottom's only probably 5 feet below, and they keep re-rigging to make it look like they keep coming down and further and further. But they only had, like I said, they only had 30 feet of rock wall on the sound stage. And they had a little bit of actual cave at the top, but not vertical. Dan Ben says, hi, welcome, Dan Ben. So they had space travel for a while. Apparently, the Denobulans had space travel for quite a while, enough to have wars years ago. Travis and not Travis. Malcolm and Trip come across some Denobulan storage container, rock samples. Good thing they're only rock samples. Could have been waste extraction. So Malcolm is happy to know they're on the right track. So Archer goes to talk to the alien. He's feeling okay. He wants to return to his ship. Archer says, your ship was damaged. It's going to take a while to be fixed. He was exposed to radiation, that you need treatment. You won't survive another 2 days. He wants to be treated by his own doctor, but there is no other doctor. Phlox is the only doctor. Did your doctor tell you their battle tactics resulted in 20 million Antarian casualties? No, he wasn't that specific. So they had their species, they're really good at putting that kind of stuff behind them. Archer says, do you want to become a casualty of war that ended 300 years ago? Phlox has been chief medical officer for 2 years. Never questioned him. This is very possible. He's a proficient surgeon. I don't intend to find out. He'd rather die. He was the first Antarian to even see a Denobulan in 6 generations. He says, well, spend some time with them. A few hours in their historical archives might change Archer's opinion. Archer says he prefer to make his opinions based on first-hand experience. He respects his history, sacrifices. But the Denobulans you're describing are not the people he's met. Don't sacrifice your life based on preconceptions. Yes. Dr. Phlox, why has Dr. Phlox never mentioned this big war? Well, it wasn't our proudest moment. It doesn't seem odd to you that it's the first Azarian you've ever met, then even the first Denobulan he ever met. Maybe you put it behind you too quickly. As he said before, it's complicated. From childhood, every Zarin is taught the Denobulans are enemies. This is your chance to prove them wrong. Now Archer's telling him to set aside his preconceptions. Show him he can trust you. You really think I can earn his trust in less than 36 hours? Archer is saying, all I ask is that you try. Your ethics might prevent you from working on him, but it doesn't stop you from talking to him. You're a doctor, he's your patient. Josh Street says they can't see the bottom. That sounded like the exact opposite problem Karogan orphan miners have, with them not being able to see the top. The Basco scenario. Welcome, Basco. Saying if he was a geologist, he would go this way because I guess the rocks are shinier. They always have this spot in the cave. They have to stand close to the wall. They had the same issue in Deep Space Nine when Worf and Dax and Core were looking for the original Kales's original Batleth. They got to a place along the wall they had to get across. Core was falling with the Batleth, and Worf was telling him, okay, I'll hold it. There's a landing right below you. Just jump down. And he looked, he's like, I don't see it. And he didn't trust Worf. And he asked Dax. And Dax is like, I can't see anything from where I am. And Worf was like, I promise you, it's right there. Just jump down. And he's like, no. And they end up having to pull him up the hard way. And then Jadzia looks down to see what was there. And she shakes her head. She looks at Worf. And later they talk about it. Like, there was no landing. Of course there was a landing. It was big enough for a warrior. It was like it wasn't big enough for whatever schoolgirl. And Judge Diaz says later, she's like, one thing's true, Worf. There was no landing. You wanted him to die. Now, Travis is hurt. And Trip is trying to rescue. Well, actually, Travis is holding Malcolm, trying to save Malcolm, or Trip. Travis, I don't know. Travis was trying to save both of them, Malcolm and Trip. And he managed to do it. Travis broke a leg and ripped a couple of ligaments. They gotta keep moving. Just give me something for the pain. Sorry, Travis. You're not going anywhere. LDG says, howdy all. Welcome, LDG. No, you're slowing us down. Thanks for getting us this far. Now we're going to leave you here to die. It's not me I'm worried about. He was the cave expert. Phlox is working on the patient, even though he kind of told him not to. He's checking his bio signs. What a dedicated healer you must be. You're a long way from home. What brought you here? What are you practicing your bedside manner? He's a teacher of xenopathology. He studies the legends of alien. There's 3 Denobulan scientists also being picked up, found the world's uniquely suited to their field work. Do you believe saving one Antaran will resolve your guilt of killing blah blah? And he's like, I haven't killed anyone. You must know a great deal about our anatomy after what your doctors did to us. That really upset. Phlox. Were you raised listening to stories, the evil Antarans? He said, they give you nightmares. You have children. Did you tell those stories to your children? Did you teach them to hate Antarans just as you were taught? It says his children have nothing to do with this. What would they think about your father talking to an Antaran? Would you even let them in the same room? He's trying to treat them in respect, but he refuses to listen to insults. You're the reason that this is still alive. No, we can't put it behind you. No Denobulan wants to be in the same room with you. And we get Phlox and T'Pol, and only Phlox and T'Pol in the mess hall. So T'Pol comes over and wants to sit with him, and he's like, actually, I'm not in the mood for company, but of course he is, because if he wasn't in the mood for company, he'd be in his quarters. So he ends up ultimately sitting down after he tells her not to, but then says, now, okay, come sit down. Says, how is your patient? He's had patients refuse treatments before, but usually only when they're in the final stages of an awful disease. This guy just seems ready to die for no reason. So one of his grandparents took him aside and said he couldn't go on a trip because the planet was tainted, because Antarans had lived there once before, years ago. So he never went. But Phlox decided he wasn't going to raise his children like he was raised. So he never raised them to hate Antarans. Paul said, your children are fortunate not to have been raised how you were raised. That seems to have upset the doctor. Get Malcolm crawling through some caves with Trip asking him if he's seen anything. It's ridiculous that this is actually human beings do this kind of shit. when they go in caves, and they could be meters or kilometers underground, and they start just crawling through these tiny shafts, and it's pitch black except for any light they bring in. I mean, the lights they're bringing in are flashlights. I mean, God forbid the bulb breaks or the battery dies or something. I mean, then you're totally fucked, and you're crawling through, and you finally lucky if you come across somebody in the cave. The Denobulans finally they caught up with the Denobulans. They're like, "We're here to rescue you." They've given all the off-worlders 3 days to leave. That was 2 days ago. We've got a lot of climbing ahead of us. They better decide what you want to bring. The Denobulans like, "We're sorry you came all this way, but we're not leaving." They don't seem to give a fuck. "We're not leaving without you," says Trip. "You've accomplished your mission." Says, "No, your science academy is going to hold us responsible." Says the academy, the academy knew the progress we were making. They would never have sent you. He said, "You don't realize." He's like, "You can't risk your lives for these rocks." He's like, "Rocks? These are most like there's a Reaganite. There's enough things here for these are more than rocks. These could prevent seismic disasters for generations. I need 2 or 3 more weeks." No way. They spent 2 days falling down cliffs, getting stuck in lava tubes just to find you. And you got an injured man. They have just enough time before we end up in front of a firing squad. My orders to bring you back. I promise you that's what I'm going to do. I can't force you just to leave. So he's like, "You want to bet?" So Trip says, "I swear I will tie you up and drag you out by your ankles." And the guy, the scientist, is like, "Well, we've got a lot of samples." "Low specs Linux laptop, Qapla." So Locke says if his data on their lifetime is correct, and his last days won't come for another 60 years. He's like, "What are you talking about? Your ethics prevented you from treating me. I told you not to." And Locke says, "Yeah, well, my guilt did get to me. I used to have nightmares." And his grandparents used to tell him stories about evil Antarans. But when he had kids, he decided to tell the truth the best as he knew it, demonize and turn him into a faceless enemy. He wanted to tell them the truth, teach them what they really are, not what propaganda tells them. But he doesn't know what they really are. But he knows that his grandmother's attitude was archaic. There are still Denobulans that fear Antarans and hate them. He did his best. He wouldn't. No, his son fell. His son fell in with people who still hated Antarans. So I could tell you what one of them would think. He'd been happy to have you grant his wish and let you die. But that's not the example he tried to set for his children. Why not live? And set an example for your children. And now these Denobulans that were ready to stay down there for 6 weeks figure the planet will change hands again. By the time they come up anyway, probably be right. They already decided they'd go. They got to get a they just needed a moment to get one of their cases that they saved. Are those rock samples? We can't carry anymore. It took 6 weeks to extract them. It sounds like LDG and his foot. If you don't start moving in 5 seconds, or take my phase pistol and shoot you in the ass. And it's like LDG. He says, you don't start moving or I take my foot and shove it up your ass. And of course, there's an earthquake at this time. Travis puts his hand over his head to help him protect himself. That's some seismic activity. Of course, to Malcolm, it feels like weapons fire. I yield by the sound of it. There's still 2 hours till the deadline. Climbing gear. They don't have climbing gear. They're Denobulan. You climb down that without any rope or safety equipment? Yep. Yeah, the Denobulans. They can just climb against the wall. Big rock coming down. Where was Travis? Archer tries to perhaps bluff that he would start a war. The paper towels in future sick bay. I'm happy. Good to see that the quicker picker upper still exists in Enterprise. And all of a sudden, the alien has come around and wishes more Denobulans felt the same way. Dr. Alex's Qapla vertebrae. Hope you are well. I hope you are well, Dr. Alex. He has children as well. He's decided to accept Phlox's treatment. And now they're pulling Travis out. He dropped some rocks. Fortunately, he's got some other samples in his case. She is trying them. Enterprise to Commander Tucker. Please respond. Uh-oh. Prep Shuttle Pod 1. Have a shuttle team meet up in the launch bay. And there it is, Tucker to Enterprise. Cutting it pretty close, Trip. The deadline passed 2 hours ago. Better late than never. The Denobulans are on board. It's a small craft approaching on the shuttle pod. You got company. They're firing on the shuttle. Minimal damage. They're using low power beams. They're just giving a little kick in the pants. Dr. Alex is busy but cannot complain, hoping to have the book out in a week. How many shuttle pods does Enterprise have? 2. We only have 2. Archer wasn't looking forward to throwing blocks and irons. He said, how did you do it? Block says, you do respect patient doctor confidentiality, unless you're ordered to tell you. So Dr. Phlox wanted to see this alien off, but he was busy treating his crewman, who was injured in the accident. Too bad your time on Centaurus was cut short. As you do know, we came here to rescue 3 Denobulan geologists. They're going to be going home on your transport. Were they informed that he'd be traveling with them? You had to talk. They're willing if you are. And he got some terrible makeup. I mean, you can see right where the prosthetic ends and his real skin begins. Not something I usually notice. And Dr. Alex says, I am now better informed. And the 2 ships separate and go off on their merry way. And Dr. Phlox begins recording, and he's going to write a letter to his son, who he hasn't spoken to in a long, long time. No, chances are slim that you'll receive this letter. But what they have is compels him to reach you again. He said, an experience that's opened old wounds, painful. It's also changed something. I hope you're willing to listen, it might begin to change something in you. Josh Reed says they are willing if you sounds like Deej and LDG. And Dr. Alex says Captain Archer is wearing a prosthetic. No, I don't think Captain Archer is wearing a prosthetic. And that was it. That was the end of the episode with Dr. Phlox writing to his estranged son, who apparently fell in with the crowd that hates Antarans. That's his biggest thing in life was hating Antarans. That's what defines this one son of Phlox's. So that was season 2, episode 21, The Breach. Next week is Cogenitor. A friendly alien race known as the Visians. The 2 starship crews happily intermingle, but then Commander Tucker becomes intrigued when he meets a Visian couple in the mess hall, accompanied by a 3rd member of their race. That's a 3rd gender. A 3rd gender. But the being has no name. It's just a cogenitor. A 3rd gender. In their biology, cogenitors are needed to complete reproduction. They do not genetically contribute to the offspring, but supply an enzyme required for fertilization. Since they only constitute 3% of the population, Visians must apply to have a cogenitor assigned to them when they intend to conceive a child. They're considered mentally deficient and not equal citizens in terms with men and women. And this very progressive episode, and I say that sarcastically, of Enterprise next week will have been directed by LeVar Burton, aka Geordie LaForge. Yeah, next week, season 2, episode 22, Cogenitor. Yvette says, thank you, Bird. Still upset about the Tribble. Oh, I'm sorry, Yvette. And Josh reads us up next on Wednesday, Treco Prey is DS9's episode, Little Green Men. Not today, Josh Street. Not today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you guys again next week. Friday this week should be another Bed Life. Yeah, we will go from there. Qapla All. Bird out.